the NWA back into the spotlight.
I was thinking that it might be a good idea if you and I formed an alliance.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Attention everyone. Welcome to the greatest wrestling program in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? Stop what you're doing and listen.
It's the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin, Frazier, DKM, and J Cal.
What an interesting turn of events. What's up, everyone? This is the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance and the United Wrestling Network. And if you visit the site, we are updating news and information as it's coming out. We just did a recently updated on the United Wrestling Network, what's going on with them. There's an article about to post. Actually did a post with Attila Khan now challenging Trevor Murdoch for the 10 pounds of gold on December 1st. And more stuff is coming to the site. So make sure you're visiting alliance-wrestling.com and make sure that you make that part of your daily internet viewing habits. But today, I was all fired up to talk about By Any Means Necessary. That show was looking jacked. I was excited about it. And then the strangest thing happened. WWE decided to start a new wrestling promotion by eliminating half of its roster, former stars of NXT. And I figured we would talk about it. So, of course, you see some of the familiar faces and not such a familiar face. Of course, we got Kevin Frazier, the former NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion. We've got DKM, and of course, Jaden, with no logo this time, is joining us to talk NWA, but more importantly, to talk about some of these WWE releases. How you doing, fellas?
Better than a lot of WWE former wrestlers.
I don't know about that, DK. They still probably got more in their bank account than all of us put together.
Yes.
I said some of them. Not all.
But your boy Kev's doing good out here, man. A couple of these guys, at least one of these guys I know for sure, I hold a couple victories over. And, I think I don't mind giving a alternate perspective on all this stuff. But anyways, yeah. Hey guys, good to see you guys in the chat today.
Jaden, how you doing, buddy?
I'm here. I haven't hit the ladder yet, but I'm doing all right, I guess.
And I do want to say what's up to everyone in the chat. Ron's in the house. He wants to see Biff Busick show up in the NWA. He's already on top of it, folks. We got James H. Jackson in the house. How you doing, James? Willie Bowen is here. Terry McDermott's here. Sean Mega's here. It's like a roll call. You guys all showed up. And Jaden, your pal Kakushi's here.
Yeah, you know what? I know that guy. I don't like him at all.
You're not the only one.
I think the feeling is mutual.
Yeah. Well, you guys should hug it out. That's what they used to do back in the day.
Kokushi has always been kind to the modern day hero, so I got no problems with him.
The only thing we probably agree with is how good the modern day hero is.
Oh, jeez.
we got to come. Hey, man, I'll be happy to be the bridge builder.
Hey, Kakushi, you got to take it easy, bro. I'm gonna have to block you if you keep going that route.
Yeah, we got to keep it classy in here.
Very, very classy. Okay, so look, like I said, we're gonna get to By Any Means Necessary because I really feel like that show was a great step in the right direction for the NWA. But the news is breaking, and I would be remiss if we didn't at least acknowledge what's going on with the WWE right now. They have released several names already, and more are expected as the night continues. I'm trying to pull up a decent list here of some of the names.
I have one if you need it.
Oh, go for it, please.
All right. So far, officially confirmed as far as Fightful Select is concerned. is Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux. Frankie Monet, who most people would know as, Talia Valkyrie. Ember Moon, Oni Lorcan, and what was a surprise to me, B-Fab, who just got called up to SmackDown as part of Hit Row. Jesse Kamara, Camea, Kamea, I don't know. Seda Ramir, Trey Baxter, Katrina Cortez, Jeet Rama, Grand Metalik, Lindsay Dorato,
Lindsay.
Dorato, whatever.
Figure the Spanish guy got it wrong.
Sometimes I do things intentionally, sometimes I don't. You always have to figure out which one it is. Probably the big surprise on the list, Nia Jax. Keith Lee.
That was my big surprise.
Considering the way they've been using him or not using him, I can't say I'm any more surprised. I'm more surprised about Karrion Kross than him.
Wow.
Harry Smith, who did one dark match. Mia Yim. And Eva Marie, who they hired in October of 20, didn't debut until June of 21. Put her in a horrible angle with Doudrop, and then kept Doudrop and released her. So that's the official list as of this last update.
Well, I know kind of a couple of them actually. Mia Yim has worked for Dog. Harry Smith has worked for Dog. Biff Busick, or was he Orny Lorcan? He's worked for Dog. And I gave Lindsay Dorado his first break many, many years ago. And he's also worked for Dog later for Dr. Zirconium. There are a couple I know personally, some really good talent. Keith Lee and Mia Yim are married. Karrion Kross and Scarlett are married. It's really sad that both spouses lose their job at the same time around the holiday. Kind of a sad time.
I do believe they get paid through their 90-day no-compete clause. No one's been able to confirm that for me, but
they still get paid up to that 90-day clause, except for Scarlett apparently only has 30 days.
Well, any of the Strictly Next talent only has 30 days. And then main roster talent has 90 days if they remember to redo their contract, which apparently they have forgotten once or twice. And so it's almost I don't know if B-Fabs was redone or not, but it was almost sad that she was brought up to have her contract redone, and then
was B-Fab the really tall? Was it the girl?
B-Fab was the girl in Hit Row with the long
braid. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, she was very new and very green, but I don't know. It is just surprising to me that I'm not surprised that they're releasing more. I mean, over this year, they've released enough talent to, somebody said, make another promotion.
I said that.
That was true.
And it's one of those, with the news of ROH that we talked about last week, it's a hard time for some of these wrestlers. Now, hopefully the talented ones will find places and still rise. The not so talented ones will be regulated back to the indies wherever they can get booked. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know. Kevin, what are your thoughts? You have a different view as a former talent.
I would say, there's two names on the list that I've actually wrestled would be Ember Moon and Keith Lee, who I'd know them personally. both I wouldn't necessarily call them friends, but definitely people that I would consider acquaintances. Because anytime you wrestle with somebody, it automatically, especially like Keith Lee and I wrestled a few times. But honestly, I don't see any names on this list that, in my opinion, for the company are like big time or like game changers. I think you have some potential on this list. Like, I think, of course, obviously the first two names that stand out are Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. They have a lot of potential. I think Eva Marie is probably kind of. I don't necessarily believe they had like huge plans for her, anyways. It was probably there was probably mutual benefit for her in terms of just keeping her name around so she can get into more movies. So I don't see her release as like, oh God, I think she's very independent in terms of she'll be just fine whether she's in wrestling or not.
She's not a wrestler.
No, she's a
personality.
character. Yeah, she's a character. But actually, I think she's a better actress than a wrestler. To be honest, I've seen her, and I think I saw her in one movie. She's actually pretty good, honestly, and she's more believable in the movies than she is in the ring. Which is, hey, I mean, it's worked out really good for Batista. I'm a little surprised by the Hit Row person, but again, they probably were looking for some kind of improvement from her, and they probably didn't see it, and there just wasn't a reason to keep her. But I also think you're really not looking at any of these names here. And again, I can tell you why I believe that Karrion Kross and Keith Lee, and like I was talking to Jay offline, there are probably elements to this that we're obviously not privy to. But if I were just to say, in their progression alone, just watching them progress on television, they left a lot to be desired in terms of, probably what was expected out of them. I think you had a huge push for Karrion Kross on NXT, and honestly, he was never good. Never was he ever the best part of the show. I felt like he had a great entrance. He had a valet, and he just was the same from the minute he got there. And once you took the valet and you took the ring entrance away and you threw him out there on the WWE TV, it was like, okay. And I take a wrestler, case in point, like a Daniel Bryan, and he doesn't need ring entrance. He doesn't need cool gear. You just put him in the ring and guarantee you he's going to get over. And again, I'm not comparing everybody to like a Hall of Famer, but I'm also saying that, there's an element that I think a lot of these wrestlers were people they had high hopes for that maybe didn't pan out. Like I think Frankie Monet never really latched on, like never connected really. And I felt like she was out of shape from the minute she got there. So, all in all, like I know we talk about how it's a sad day and all that stuff, but most of these wrestlers on here, this was a huge thing for them and a huge privilege. And somebody like myself who never had a contract run with WWE, I'd take their spot. I'd take what they experienced any day, any of them. And I guarantee you they would say the same thing because it's a privilege to take that next step. And it's definitely a lot harder than people think. And so for me, it's kind of more of like, hey, congrats. Like you did make it. This doesn't mean it's the end of the road. It's just probably more than anything, just business.
I want to latch on to something Kevin said real quick because otherwise I'll forget.
Real quick before you get there. Hey, Kevin, be really careful because your phone, I see your credit card there. I don't want you to accidentally flash that on the screen.
Oh, okay. Sure. Carry on, DK.
Real quick, Kevin, what's those 3 digits on the back again?
Anyway.
Thanks. I just got it right there.
Seriously, though, I want to latch on something Kevin said. I mean, Keith Lee, Karrion Kross. And I want to talk about how people are presented. and what difference that makes. Now, both Karrion Kross and Keith Lee were over pretty big in NXT. Whether you like them in the ring, you like their style, those are opinions. They can be credible or not credible, but they're basically opinions. And so, but they were over with that crowd, and they were booked in a certain way, and they were presented in a certain way. But when they got called up to the main roster, they were not presented in the same way. I mean, Karrion Kross' first match out there, he loses in 2 minutes to Jeff Hardy. And, Jeff Hardy doesn't beat anybody nowadays. So, and I'm going to throw this one to Jayden, which I threw to Kevin last time. So, Jayden, how important is presentation as far as getting fans to react?
Very, very important. It's very important. You can shine up a turd if you try hard enough. And presentation can make a huge difference on whether somebody gets over. Entrance is so important. The entrance music, the look of the gear. I mean, you can take the greatest wrestler in the world and put him in a trash bag and he ain't going to do nothing. Give him no gear, no push, anything. It's really a joint venture. You have to know how to promote them, how to present them. I tell it all the time. There's a lot of wrestlers who come out and they come out with this music and like, oh, I love this music. It pumps me up. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't do shit for the audience. This song does nothing to get you over. It's not about pumping you up. It's about pumping the audience up. They need to know who you are and what you are in the first 3 bars of the song. As soon as that comes out, they need to know and be able to ready to get excited about it. And a lot of wrestlers don't understand that. They'll use absolutely generic gear from high spots that you'll see 15 wrestlers do. They'll come out with stuff that they bought at the Halloween store thinking that they're great wrestlers. And again, it's nothing. You can have a fake plastic crown, doesn't mean you're a king. If you're not really willing to invest in the wrestler and you're not willing to invest in yourself, then the presentation is very huge. I'm also looking over the roster. A lot of this roster is kind of older. They've been around for a while and they're on the older side. Is the WWE may be looking to get rid of some of the wrestlers, and the NXT was really guilty for this. A lot of the older wrestlers that have been around and just trying to create their whole new stars.
Well, I mean, for certain, we knew that things were going to be changing for the WWE. There was going to be a youth movement. They were looking at changing things up. We saw that with the initial cuts. But then when they reimagined NXT and brought it to more of a actual developmental federation for the WWE, we knew that things were going to change. We knew it was going to be different. And I mean, when you look at it, like I think the cost of doing business. Kevin alluded to this earlier. The cost of doing business during a global pandemic is pretty severe. It's wild because there's so much news that it's coming out right now, and the WWE just reported earnings today that they had revenues of $256 million for the quarter, not for the year, for the quarter. And now that sounds like a ton of money for us, right? And when you hear those numbers, you think, well, geez, they're just being greedy. But as a business, your revenues aren't your profits. Your revenues are just the money that you made. So when you start looking at the grand picture, like we don't know how much it costs to run the WWE. I mean, I'm sure if you look at the financials with a fine-tooth comb, you could probably find something there. But with NXT, and a lot of these talents came from NXT, they were trimming the fat and getting rid of the excess. And I'm surprised more names haven't been announced, and maybe we'll hear some more names later. And I kind of disagree with Kevin. And, he followed the NXT product a heck of a lot closer than I did. So maybe he's onto something. But just from my personal experiences, a guy like Keith Lee or a guy like Karrion Kross, or even as Ron Gibson asked about Harry Smith, I mean, I feel like these guys will be stars just about anywhere else they go. and I don't understand the rationale of letting someone go that has so much potential. Now, I don't. Do I think any of those three guys will be the next John Cena or the next Rock or the next Stone Cold Steve Austin? No, I don't. But I definitely feel like they could have contributed to the success of the WWE in the long term, and could have helped been maybe the next Randy Orton or the next Drew Galloway or somebody who's held a significant spot on the roster for multiple years and could have helped keep the promotion going. What do you guys think?
Well, I also want to make a point too, and this is something that, like, we spoke about offline as well, just about business, that we also don't know what the environment was like in terms of a working environment for some of these names. If we're going to talk about, say, maybe the ones that don't make sense, a lot of times, and we all have heard the stories, and we all know it's true because, Jay, like I told you, like, you could hire the most talented person, and I'm dealing with this at my own current business. Is, we have one of the most talented, charismatic, like, employees, but her attitude, man, like, makes it really, really hard. And I even spoke with her, and her manager and I talked today, and it's like, I feel like we're on a timetable with this. Like, this is not going to last. This is only going to last so long. So as good as she is, we need to be ready to, be ready to replace that spot, especially because she's a high producer. And again, sometimes the sum is greater than the parts. And again, I wouldn't doubt that some of this has to do with, relations and interactions and some of that stuff. Now, I'm going to tell you firsthand, like, Keith Lee, from my perspective, was never hard to work with. I mean, he put over a 160-pound guy like myself at the time. So it's not like I have a problem with working with him, but that was 10 years ago. Things may be different now. And again, Karrion Kross, I also will say and present somewhat of an other side to this, is that, is a wrestler that good if you have to put all of the presentation around them? If they have to have a great entrance music, if they have to have the hot chick, if they can't cut a promo and somebody else has to guide them through a promo, like, if you have to do all of that, Judas, like, are they really that good? And that's kind of where I lean with Karrion Kross. Keith Lee, on the other hand, is a little bit different because I think he's good on the mic. I think he's really charismatic. And if I were to just go with my gut instinct, no pun intended, I think it was the weight and the physique issue with Keith Lee that might have been the big issue there. But those are speculations, and those are really the only two names on this list that I really think the WWE could lose a little bit by losing these guys.
All right, I want to say two things, and then we'll get. I'll let Jaden or DKM get back into it. First thing, Willie brings up a good point. Remember when the WWE released Deonna Purrazzo? She's in Impact Wrestling and is a former Knockouts champion. Yeah, I mean, I think there's something to that, and I think obviously that's going to happen quite a bit. However, I mean, we know that AEW has signed many, many people. We know that Impact has signed many, many people. And now with one more place not hiring and releasing talent, it's going to be a lot harder for some of these folks to find jobs and to get back to it. The one other point I wanted to make to Kevin, and we're just talking because we're pals and everyone's here listening, but isn't there room for somebody like Karrion Kross with the hot chick, with the promo, with his lack of promo, but his ability to get over with the fans? I mean, it worked in Impact. It worked in Lucha Underground. Don't you think it could work elsewhere?
Absolutely. Like, I'm not saying. Remember, the reason I'm talking about Karrion and Keith Lee, because those are the two guys that I feel like were the biggest difference makers potentially on the list. I'm only trying to say that Like, I'm trying to give a perspective of why they might have released him. Not that I don't think he could have been great. And to speak to the point, like, imagine a rivalry, a no frills rivalry with him and Timothy Thatcher. You know, like that would be fantastic to watch. Or Walter, like, Jesus, God Almighty, like Karrion Kross and Walter, no promos, just go out there and fight, and that would be a lot of fun to watch. So I'm going to tell you right now, like, I think he has a lot of potential and there's a lot there, but I'm also saying here are the areas that if I were to say, okay, well, let me try to justify this and not just be like, oh, it's just the WWE is bad and they're the bad guy. These might be some of the reasons that you could look to, because they're really those two really are hard. You have to nitpick to find a reason why you would even let go of talent like that. And no doubt, if I'm AEW, I'm releasing some of my own guys to pull these two guys into my roster, because I really feel like they would fit very good into the AEW roster, because they're moving into a more work rate brand of company, very much like WCW would have been.
I actually am a little worried. I'm a little worried about Karrion Kross or I guess Killer Kross now and Scarlett Bordeaux. I can't see them going to AEW with what was the Jackal's name there? The guy who used to work for Impact and now is managing Kenny Omega. What's his name again? Yeah, Don Callis. He had a horrible case of scarlet fever, and that didn't work out too well. And then Impact, same thing. Because of that scarlet fever, they didn't quite leave on great terms at Impact. And if I remember right, Scarlett Bordeaux had to get a job selling sunglasses or something like that to just make ends meet, because of what Impact was paying. Where are they really going to go? I mean, they'll probably really do well. I think Killer Kross worked for MLW in the past, but that's not exactly, going to be filling their coffers with gold. And then there's Japan, which I think they might do really well with, especially All Japan Pro Wrestling or Noah, but they don't pay quite what they used to. With Impact, it's fine, but again, I don't see them going back. And then Ring of Honor, if they do stay in business, and after looking at the financials of Sinclair Broadcasting, I'm not sure that's really going to happen. I guess it's useful for them because now they're independent talent. They could be signed and work for whatever 3 months or whatever they tape in Ring of Honor.
My interest is piqued. What is Scarlet? I know it's Scarlet. It's a reference to Scarlet. But what do you mean by Scarlet Fever? Please.
There's a sexual harassment suit going on from Scarlet about Don Callis apparently offering to push them if she did certain favors, allegedly.
Oh.
Okay, and then what you said that was with Don Callis. Now, who was the other one that had?
Impact is when Don Callis was an executive Impact, and Scarlet sued them both.
Or Don left Impact not on good terms, so.
Interesting. This is interesting to me that AEW being somewhat woke would have a guy like that on their main program.
Well, some of their executive presidents still think the world is flat and that women are inferior because the Bible says so. So
interesting.
But I want to get to what James H. Jackson Jr., our good friend James, said, and that Jay had up here for unthankful bit. Someday Tony Khan may have to go through this. He can't keep signing or keep hiring all these people. And someday even AEW may have to do a mass release. And I don't think we'll see a mass release anytime soon. I do think we'll see contracts not renewed, especially with a lot of we've seen it to a small extent with like Danny Limelight and others where, they sign them small, short-term, I think, appearance contracts, and then they either keep them or they let them go. But yeah, Tony Khan's got money to play with, but at a certain point, you have to be careful. A lot of people are dogging WWE because they're making quote unquote record profits or whatever. Well, guess what? That's what you're in business for,
right?
Well, and when we talk about Japan. When we talk about Japan, one of the reasons we're bringing up, or Jaden's bringing up All Japan or Noah, is because New Japan's kind of in the same boat as ROH. They were really good to the wrestlers all through the pandemic, and now they got a serious money problem.
That's why you're seeing a lot of talents come to the United States too, which, I mean, it's kind of a benefit if you're a fan of wrestling because, for example, November 15th, I'll be in Riverside watching New Japan Strong, and I'm going to see talents like Taishi Imori, I think. I saw the list, and I was really excited. They're bringing in Jonathan Gresham. They're bringing in a lot of guys, but there's talents from New Japan that'll be on that card. So it'll be interesting. And to what DK was saying, it's, we are seeing numbers of their revenues, their sales, but that doesn't necessarily tell you what their business did. Again, that information is available if you know what you're looking for. And you can go through the tax documents because they're a publicly traded company. You could see these numbers, but again, we don't know what they're actually making unless you're going through that stuff. And the other part of that too is, like with Ring of Honor not being in action, that's going to affect a lot of people. But nevertheless, a lot of these guys, if you go back 10 years, there weren't as many options to get into pro wrestling as there are today. So, like, yes, there are only two really big companies out there, with Impact a very close third, but still a very distant third. But, you can go work, like Willie Bowen suggested. There's Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Now, they're not offering contracts, no, and the money won't be the same. But, somebody like Karrion Kross coming to the United Wrestling Network, I know Marquez would love that. And they could do that in 3 different states. And also their primetime live, and that goes for everyone on the roster. Talking about the NWA, that carousel that they have, that roster of being able to bring talent in for a taping or two and then sending them on their way. Again, this would work perfectly for that group because, again, if Karrion Kross and Scarlett are available on December the 4th, and I'm not saying they are because obviously Karrion's still under contract, but if they were and they showed up, I mean, people would mark out, and you could use them for another pay-per-view, and you'd have these stars on your show, and then, they could quietly fade away, and no one would know the difference. At least that's what I thought.
Well, on some of these people, I think we're going to figure out how much they actually like the wrestling business.
I like that, DK.
I mean, seriously.
No, we don't have to be soft on these guys, man. And girls.
I mean, some of these people probably will leave wrestling. I mean, honestly, I don't see Nia Jax going anywhere. She was a model beforehand. A lot of people don't realize she actually was part of the diva movement, and they were hiring models, not wrestlers. So, I mean, I don't really see her going anywhere to be a wrestler. I don't know, Jaden, what do you think?
Nia Jax? No, not really, but that happens to a lot of people. I've heard many people said they used to love professional wrestling until they got their dreams accomplished and went to the WWE, and then they became sports entertainers, and it killed professional wrestling for them. It can very happen. I know a couple of them that I know personally. One of them's got his degree as a public educator and was working as a teacher before he got signed by the WWE. That's always something to fall back on, and that's why you need an education, something to fall back on, because this could happen at any time, or even an injury. But Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is a good opportunity. If you really do love wrestling, the opportunities are there. I mean, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, the NWA, who I for some reason forgot about both of them when I was talking about places to go. If Ring of Honor does stay around, that's something they can do. They could not sign a contract and do lots of things and have a lot of fun. Independent dates in between, MLW, not my style of wrestling, but that GCW. I'm sure there's a couple that can make some money there. There's a Dog. They can come wrestle for Dog. I'm sure. Lindsay Dorado, you want to come home? Give me or Dr. Zirconium a call. We'll see what we can do.
and I think that's an important thing to point out. What you just said there, Jaden, is that the independents are going to be flourishing with talent. If there's an independent wrestling promotion out there, you really can lock up some big names on your shows. And let me rephrase that: not lock up, but I mean have these guys on your shows. I don't know. It really does baffle me that so many talent were released all at once, and this isn't the first time this year that it's happened, let alone since the pandemic. But like Dave Scooby said, some of the more well-known talent can possibly make a run on the indies, like Matt Cordova is doing right now. And I mean, there's no probably. Let me try that again. There is no better example of somebody on the independent scene taking advantage of their WWE stardom like Matt Cordova. He's literally working with Impact. He's getting dates with Game Changer Wrestling. Again, that's not my particular style of wrestling either, Jaden, but it looks like people are really getting behind him, and he's generating heat for the company. He's bringing recognition to the company. And, you know, it really is wild to me to think that there's this much talent that's going to be available, and the promotions out of there, New Japan Strong. Like, I feel like each time we start bringing it up again, we're leaving someone else out. Like, there's New Japan Strong here in the United States. There's Pro Wrestling Guerrilla in Southern California. There's Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas. There's a lot of places that are doing more wrestling now than they've ever done before. And I do feel like there's going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot of these guys, but it's wild to me because not only, you know, we're talking about the WWE releases. Just last week we had the Ring of Honor releases, and then there's talent being released from MLW. Everybody's kind of like Kevin said, experiencing that COVID effect, and it's definitely changing the way professional wrestling is happening in this country. DK, what are your thoughts?
Well, actually, I've been looking at their investment information. And so, quick financial lesson. Revenue is what you bring in. Operating income is what you made when you're operating at revenues minus your operating expenses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I actually do P&Ls at my job, so I can help you if you need help here.
Yeah. And then don't let my 33 hours of accounting in any way intimidate you. Anyway, and then net income, which is that's, if you've ever heard the phrase, the bottom line. That's when, you know, all the extraordinary and uncommon and one-time things get factored in. So their bottom line net income was for the quarter, the third quarter, 3 months, was $43.5 million, which was a slight decrease from a year ago. A year ago was $48.2 million.
That's interesting.
Their operating income was $64 million, which was a 1% increase over last year. So that's basically saying it was the same. You know,
and in the business world, if you're not increasing, because expenses increase, so things are not as cheap this year. Things are more expensive this year than last year. So in a sense, they really didn't make money. You know,
well, they did not increase how much money they brought in. I mean, look, I don't think any of us would take $43 million and run and jump and scream. But they are a large organization. And look, again, if business's reason to exist is not to give people employment, it is not to make the world a better place. It's not to sit around, hold hands, and sing Kumbaya. It's to make money, and primarily make money for the owners. because they're the ones taking the risk. I mean, I worked in a pizza place one time, and I remember the manager telling me, the money I get paid is the money that I ring up every time somebody eats, because I work the register a lot. It's the money I ring up every time someone, comes and buys a buffet or orders a pizza. That is what's paying. There's no magic tree or magic account that just sprouts money. And so kind of being a little bit cold here, but unfortunately that's just the way the world is. Jay's a small businessman. Kevin knows that if people stop coming to the gym where he's the manager, at some point they'll look at him and go, Kevin, we got two options, and neither one of them include you working here.
Like that, huh?
Well, I mean,
Like that.
I'm just saying that if all of a sudden his membership cut in half, then it's like, do you want to give us your notice, or do you want us to let you go?
Yep. It's better on your resume that you left than if we fired you.
And with that being said, and I'm going to name drop another wrestling promotion here, the reality of wrestling is that it is a business, right? Yes, people who grow up to be professional wrestlers are living a dream. It's a dream job for a lot of them. It's what they've wanted since they were little. But remember, it's still a business. And although DK was being a little bit cold right there, that's just the honest truth. Like, this is what it is. Now, also with business too, one of the key things you can do as a business owner is recognize treasure when other people see trash. And I know that sounds very cold, but I don't mean it to sound that way. But there are new and more wrestling promotions. Like I said, there's more opportunity these days than there might have ever been in the past. And like another promotion that we hadn't talked about yet, but I tweeted about, Jeannie Buss, who is the daughter of the late owner of the Lakers. Now, she's part owner of the Lakers now, but she's also part owner of Women of Wrestling Superheroes, WOW Superheroes. That's the wrestling promotion that signed Tessa Blanchard. With all of these women who are now free agents, not the least is the Frankie Monet, Taya Valkyrie, who is literally 30 days. She's a free agent. She can go anywhere she wants. Do you guys see WOW trying to pick up some of these now displaced WWE talents like Nia Jax or Scarlett or Taya Valkyrie?
I can see them looking at like Ember Moon.
Ember Moon too, yeah.
And I can see them looking at Taya Valkyrie. I will admit, kind of go with what Kevin said. She might need to get into a little bit better shape. Or
both of them. I'm going to tell you straight up, Ember Moon got let go because she's out of shape. I don't know that for a fact, but my wife, who is a great barometer of these things, when we got married, I watched wrestling. When we started dating, I was watching wrestling, especially NXT, and Ember Moon was on there. And a few months ago, it had to be earlier this year, she was like, wow, she's put on a whole lot of weight. And this is an athletic, aesthetic business, man. It's not, it just is what it is. And again, it's another one of those, this may not be what you want to hear, but you can't tell me that you're not going to tell me. I'm going to tell you that actually really does matter, especially to a company like WWE, because there's no secrets here that your physique and the way you look is extremely important in that company. You have to live under a rock and not know anything about wrestling to not know that. So some of these things can be very visually apparent.
right. I mean, Ember Moon suffered a major injury. She was out for over a year. And she did put on weight. And, Frankie, she was, Frankie was never, Taya was never a small person, likely never will be. But, she also got bigger. Does it matter to me if I'm running DKM's wrestling promotion? Probably not. But as Kevin says, it matters in the WWE. You can like it, not like it, doesn't matter. It's the way life is.
So, are we ready to talk about some NWA, guys? Because I feel like we talked about this till it's done.
Yeah, I think we might have beaten this to death. Real quick, do you guys have anything else you want to add before we move on? Jaden, is there anything you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I think we pretty much hit everything on this. I wish everybody the best of luck if they're continuing wrestling. Have a lot of fun. Start enjoying the sport like you used to. And as again for talent, I'm going to use a sports analogy here with the NHL. There is many a time somebody can play for a team and be considered a disaster, and then switch a team and all of a sudden become the greatest player that they've ever been and showed all their potential. Sometimes right now, just working for that company, the WWE, you might not have the right coaching or trainer or whatever you need to get where you are, and somebody else can just take that and tweak what you're doing and make you a big star out of it. That's why a lot of these guys leave the WWE and sure they truly have potential. And that's also kind of why sometimes some people leave the independents or the smaller leagues and get to the WWE and they just don't seem to flourish.
I'll add one thing to that. We were talking offline one time, and I was saying, one of the things I've liked about Bryan Danielson being in AEW, and I'm still not a huge AEW fan, but I do watch Bryan, I do watch Punk. But one of the things I said, I forgot what a good wrestler Bryan Danielson is, because he didn't do as much in the WWE of his style of wrestling. And it's almost like, oh, wow, I remember this. I remember this as part of the American Dragon now. Because honestly, I kind of forgotten. Kind of fall asleep or disagreeing with me. One of the two.
No, just stretching. Okay. If you guys want to see, Bryan Danielson at his best, you can go on to YouTube and you can search Kevin Douglas first, Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan, and get your fill of maybe his best match of all time.
What a good match. So anyway,
Kevin, when you say that,
let's go.
There's so much modesty there, and I do appreciate that about you.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, Daniel Bryan is the best wrestler we've seen at the turn of the millennia. We spoke about this, I think, in the chat. I mean, pound for pound, across the board, he's the best guy that's come out in 20 years. And that's just my opinion. And to me, it's just if I could pick any guy over the last 20 years that I would have liked to have wrestled and beaten, he would be the guy that I would choose. So, just calling it like I see it.
In case you didn't know, Kevin Douglas is the most modest person in the world. If you don't believe him, ask him. He's always bragging about how modest he is.
That's the truth.
I heard your original moniker was the Modest Day Hero, Kevin Douglas.
Yes, the Modest Day Hero. Yes.
It's
actually going to be my new. It's going to be my new Twitter handle.
Really, really deep.
It's going to be my new Twitter handle. I'll look at Jay through the link in the chat for these guys.
Yeah, man, go check that out. You don't do it now, obviously, but hit the open in a new tab and watch it later, because we're going to talk right now about NWA Empower. No, not Empower. Not NWA Power, excuse me. We're talking about By Any Means Necessary. Now, this was the show that taped on October the 24th in Oakville, Kentucky, where I'm not even sure where that's at.
It's in Kentucky, Jay.
I couldn't. Thank you. I don't even know where Kentucky's at, man. It's somewhere on the East Coast. I don't know anything about that.
It's the one that looks like a
Ohio
frying pan.
and above Tennessee.
Fair enough. What I do know is this, that for the first time in a very long time, I was happy with where my $5 went this month. It hurt a heck of a lot less watching some of this wrestling because it felt like a good wrestling show. And I'm not going to say it was the best wrestling I've ever seen, but this was probably the best presentation that the NWA has provided in a 45 to 55-minute window. And I was very happy with it. You know, I know, Jaden, you didn't catch it, but I'm going to ask DK, what did you think of By Any Means Necessary Part 1?
Well, I really enjoyed the first 30 minutes. Even some of the things I wasn't overly fond of made sense because of how they did it. Wasn't wild about the women's tag match. But in isolation, I liked Mims versus
Scion.
Mass Dude.
Scion.
Mass Dude. And the great Mass Dude, excuse me. So, you know, hey, like you said, $5. I probably got my money's worth out of it.
Kevin, how'd you feel about this one?
I thought it was, I thought the whole thing, I thought it was actually a pretty good show. I felt like the opening of the show was very, I don't know if I texted you guys about it, but it's like, I felt like Jazz might have booked that opener because that was something we would used to do at our shows in Louisiana, and, you know, open the show with like 30 minutes of wrestling. And, you know, just continual. And in reality, like, no, it was, these weren't huge built up storylines, but like, I would think that DK can agree with me on this, that it did kind of make sense though. And you know why it made sense? Because it was fun. It was exciting. It was entertaining. And that's what wrestling should be. God dog it. Like, it's supposed to be fun, entertaining, and exciting. I felt
and
like
it had a surprise.
There were surprises. The in-ring work was left a little bit to be desired, but I'll tell you who I was very impressed with, and that was the Fixers. I didn't realize how big they were until they got in the ring. And,
Right.
you know, and even though it's hilarious to watch the big fat one, what's his name?
Wrecking Ball.
Wrecking Ball with
Earthy. Watching him run across the ring was maybe my favorite part of the night, because if you didn't watch him run across the ring, guys, you got to go back and watch it. But those guys were good, man. They were entertaining. They were big. They were believable. I knew they were going to lose to Mike Bennett and his guy, but I felt like them and Mims' new look were my favorite parts of the show. Mims jumped up a huge notch, and this is the second, what Jaden said earlier, that a wrestler's gear and their presentation can really change the game for them, because it can help eliminate distractions and draw your attention away from some of their flaws. It's kind of like bodybuilding. You know, don't show your flaws, only show your strengths. And, you know, I think with Mims putting the singlet on, a nice singlet, no less, a good looking singlet. He had some nice gear. It made me look at his face more, maybe look at his physical prowess more, and I was really impressed with Mims. And honestly, I knew he wasn't going to win the match, but I wanted him to, which tells you I was into it. I really wanted him to. I was like, come on, man. I know he's not going to win it, but dang it, like, I feel like I'm sliding in the direction of becoming a fan of his, which is pretty exciting. You know, it's kind of a cool thing to say, you know, because I want to be a fan. I'm not the bitter old wrestler, Jaden. I actually still love wrestling and like it, and have very, very little bad taste in my mouth about the business.
So when are you making a comeback then?
That's I'm trying to keep it that way.
Ah, I see. Don't become a promoter then. You'll hate wrestling.
Hey, I will say this. You get me a match with Rey Mysterio, Jushin Liger, Chavo Guerrero, some great cruiserweight that I've never wrestled. I'll come out of retirement for that.
What about Craig Classic?
Heck no, but no, really, I would take Rey Mysterio any day. I'll do it for free. Just fly me in. I'm in.
I got
So
Miles
there you go.
stepped up.
I'm just saying, like Rey Mysterio, he's my favorite wrestler of all time, and in my opinion, the only guy that rivals Daniel Bryan in work rate for the last 20 years.
James H. Jackson pointed out by any means necessary actually was 1 hour and 15 minutes and 37 seconds in length. So really they like this over delivered as far as I'm concerned, because they advertised like 3 matches or 4 matches and we got more, and I'm always okay with more. It starts off with a promo from Jax Dane, and Jax Dane is really kind of taking it to the next level in terms of his promo skills. Like, he's a guy that we've always wanted to hear what he had to say, but as champion in the NWA was very quiet. You almost never heard him cut promos, and this resurgence of the former world champion, former North American champion, former national champion, former tag team champion has really been a step up, and I really like the development of the character. 2 quotes that I love that he said is what we're going to see is a level of violence you haven't seen before, which I think is always great when talking about a steel cage match. And I really enjoyed when he emphasized that I will put my fist through your face. Always like great talking points as far as I'm concerned. I thought it was a great promo. DK, what did you think about the promo?
Yeah, it's kind of what you said. I'm kind of sad he wasn't doing things like this back when he was champion. I mean, just I don't know if it's more confidence in his abilities now or what, but he's got a soft voice, but it works for him. And this is proof that you don't have to be yelling, screaming, hollering, and still be somewhat intimidating. Because, I've stood next to Jax before, and there's pictures of me next to Jax, and, the size alone intimidates you. Yeah, his talk was good, made sense. You believed him. You didn't think that these were words that were written for him. You believed what he said. Kevin?
Yeah, okay. Before everybody freaks out on me here, it wasn't Jax's best promo
No.
since he's been working in this character. I felt like it. I felt, and again, hey, what am I to tell Jax Dane, who, like DK said, like, is one of the more intimidating guys I've ever met in my life, but also one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet too. And he was anyway. But no, I felt like maybe a little better preparation for this promo would have paid dividends for him. Just maybe you don't have to script your whole promo, but maybe you want to pace it, and it felt like it kind of just at the end. And you always want to end a promo. You always want to start the promo strong, and you always want to end the promo strong, and you always want to make a point. He made a point. He started the promo strong. I just felt like it ended with a little bit of but as a whole, he's still the most interesting character they've got going on their television show for me. And again, I look for all of Steve Austin's promos weren't always great either. But the majority of them were, and I'm looking forward to more Jax Dane on NWA TV, because he's right now $4 out of the $5 paying for $4 out of the $5 I'm spending. And if he's on the show, I'm watching.
This may sound weird, but I think he's actually kind of peaking now. It's been 9 years since he held the title, but I mean, I think right now he's probably at his peak.
Real quick, I think I just read some more releases, and that's kind of why I was quiet there for a second. But it looks like, I don't know if these are accurate or not, because it's not a source that I'm familiar with, but sounds like Danny Burch, Tim Thatcher, Drew Gulak, and Tegan Knox have been cut as well.
I like 3 out of 4 of those people.
So Tegan Knox, Thatcher, and who?
Drew Gulak,
Okay.
Danny Burch.
Okay.
I know
Danny Burch was Oni Lorcan's partner.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, Gulak was pretty good, but didn't fit into the WWE very well. I think Thatcher. They let go of Thatcher.
That's what they said. That's what this
Okay.
report said.
Yeah, I really like Timothy Thatcher. So but again, there's probably reasons behind it. And then what was the other one that you mentioned?
It was Tegan Knox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boo.
So, anyways, all right. So that's again crazy. A lot of stuff is just changing here on the fly, and it'll be interesting to see how things come in 2022. That's for sure. This year's almost over, guys. December 4th is the Hard Times pay-per-view, and that's just a month away from today. So all those NXT contracts that expired, in 30 days, they should be able to appear on the NWA program if they so choose to. Next up, we get the Pope with our guy Joe Galley in the ring, and it's a fired up promo. But again, it's I can listen to the Pope read the dictionary. I can listen to him read a thesaurus, and that's basically what this was, because there was no real substance to what he was saying. He was just excited to be there, and he was kind of doing what Pope does, which is saying nothing by saying a lot. So I mean, it was a fun promo, but he really didn't tell us anything that we didn't already know. Didn't give us any new information, and that would set up the match between Pope and Colby Corino. And just as an FYI to Mr. Modern Day Hero, Nick Aldis said that the best free agent signing that the NWA has done in 2021 was bringing Colby Corino. So I'm just going to put that out there.
Oh man, I'm no longer an Aldis fan.
I never was. Oh, never mind. Excuse me.
Well, I mean, he did block me on Twitter, so apparently he's not that smart of a guy. Maybe he's just all looks and promos, but no brains.
Colby brings out the Fixers, Jay Bradley and Wrecking Ball Legursky. Wrecking Ball was trained by Matt Taven and is currently training with Bully Ray. Jay Bradley was at the 70th anniversary show. He was also at the Crockett Cup and was even at the pop-up show that they did in early January 2019 when he wrestled Tom Latimer. Kevin, you'll be happy to hear that Tom Latimer beat him. And the match was going okay, but the Fixers started to get involved. That would bring out the ill-begotten of such an awful name, of Captain Yuma and Rush Freeman. They would join the Pope in support and kind of help even up the odds. Pope would end up getting the victory. The match itself, I was actually all right with this match. I'm gonna go to you first, Kev, because I know you're a huge Colby fan. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, I didn't really like the match very well. If Colby's so great, I really felt like this match should have been right in his wheelhouse. For a guy like of that size and stature, getting to wrestle a guy Pope's size and stature, as they say in football, the playbook is completely open. And these guys could have done anything and everything in that match, given their size comparison, the fact that, one of them has charisma, the other one pretends like he has charisma. It could have been more. I would have liked to see more of the match. It wasn't a bad match by any stretch. This is a great time to point out the production value on this show was 100 times better. Like 100 times better. Like, did I say 100 times better already? Like, it was so much better. So it was so much easier to watch. But yeah, the match was all right. It certainly wasn't bad. I kind of am the same with Pope. It's like let him just a good promo like that. If he doesn't have anything to say, let him pick something random to talk about, but not something like that we've already heard him go out and not talk about and say and then not say it. It's like, let him go in there and talk about Kentucky and the history of the town they're in or something, or I don't know, just talk about something. And then the match happened, because he's such a good talker. He could just go out there and talk about anything, and it would be fun to listen to. But again, it wasn't a bad match. There was a huge botch there, though, with Colby Corino off the top in that match with the double foot stomp and all that. And it's just like, come on, NWA guys. Like, every show you've got this. At some point, somebody that's booking this thing needs to come in, a worker who understands this sort of needs to come and say, guys, we've got to tighten this up. Like, we can't have a botch every single show, especially in this match where it's supposed to be two of their work rate guys. So it was good, but it was certainly. But I definitely like the segue into the next match.
Was it a weird? In DK, we'll get to your thoughts in just a second, Kevin. When he missed that spot, being the non-pro wrestler but a longtime fan, realized something went wrong. Did it look like to you that Colby was like a deer caught in the headlights because he didn't really know what to do to adjust for that? Because that's what it looked like to me, and it looked like Pope tried to make something out of it, but it sure looked like Colby was just lost there for a second.
I just think Colby, if Colby Carino wasn't Colby Carino, he would not even be on this show. Like, guys, for just a second, pretend like his name was John Smith. Because he doesn't even have a gimmick. Remember, he doesn't even have anything really attached to him. It's just Colby, my dad's famous last name. Now everybody should pay attention to me. And he's even said that on the show. Like I said, if you call him John Smith and pretend like he has no background, you might start to see a little bit of what I'm talking about.
TK, your thoughts?
Back in the day after he was way past his prime, nobody could work up a crowd quite like Jimmy Valiant could. And I mean, he would go out there and he would talk and he'd do a promo. And if you ever got a crowd would go crazy, but if you ever got a transcript of what he said, he never said anything. I mean, just total garbage. And I kind of feel that way with Pope today. Pope can go out there and say almost anything, and I get excited. I mean, I love listening to him. And he has the enthusiasm that you need to open a show. I mean, he had a purpose when he went out there, and that was to get the crowd going. And, as far as I was concerned, he was successful. I thought the match was okay. I didn't have anything against it except for that one blown spot. And it was just more like, I don't know, deer in the headlights is right, but you could almost see the look on his face of, damn, that wasn't right. And so I only wish Pope would have reacted a little bit quicker than he did, and done something, rolled him up or something. But overall, I mean, I don't have any major complaints and only that one minor complaint. But what I really want to know is, Jaden, what's your opinion on Colby Carino?
I've actually known the kid since he was like 8, and he was a good kid. I think he had some issues that kind of derailed him for a little while, and he's trying to get back on track. I didn't see the match, so I can't give you an honest opinion about it. When he's in there against a good veteran, I know I've seen him have some good matches, but I guess if he blew a spot, and that's what happens with a lot of these wrestlers nowadays. They do these spots instead of reacting what the crowd wants and reacting to the flow of the match and reacting to with a situation out there that they get lost once something goes wrong and they have no idea what to do. It happens to a lot of the wrestlers from nowadays.
I will say I do like him with the Fixers. And the reason is they're both big, huge guys. And if I were somebody, I'd probably transition him more into like a manager role for them, because he's kind of got that slappable, arrogant thing. And I think he's somebody that could take the bumps needed for that team, get beat up on a regular basis or something like that for the team or whatever. So I will say I like that pairing. I'll also say, since we're probably getting ready to move to talk about the Fixers, that Wrecking Ball Gursky certainly, he looks like his name.
Big guy. and
around. But he's kind of like King Kong Bundy.
I thought the same thing.
You don't sit there and think, oh, fat guy. You think big guy.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Gary Horn kept saying via the live chat and on their post show as well how big those guys were, and you wouldn't believe how big they were. I've stood next to Jay Bradley before. He's a big guy, and he doesn't look all that big when he's standing next to the Wrecking Ball there, but they're both legitimately 6'4", big dudes. And it was kind of neat to see another tag team introduced to the NWA, although they don't have the best track record with tag team wrestling. Maybe that changes after By Any Means Necessary, because the next match we get is the aforementioned Ill Begotten, who came to even up the odds against the Fixers. Now, the Ill Begotten, like I said, is Rush Freeman and Captain Yuma. And this match did a great job of establishing who these guys are in the Fixers, the Wrecking Ball and Bradley. They just made everything look easy. And even Rush Freeman, who's a big dude in his own right, was still kind of dwarfed by these two brutes. The Fixers end up getting the victory. And post promo, we get Jay Bradley saying that they're the Fixers and they're for hire, which kind of makes me think that there's a lot of interesting opportunities they can use with that tag team. DK, what did you think of that match, the tag team match?
Look, honestly, anything that Yuma's involved with, I tend to not enjoy. But there was kind of an exception in this case, because they, especially considering what happens after this match, is they filled a role that needed to be done, which was to get the Fixers over as big, brutal, destructive men. And I know Jay Bradley, I watched him for a while. Don't really have any complaints against him. I think don't think he'll ever be big time, but I think he's a solid talent. This is the first time I've ever seen Wrecking Ball, and like I said, the name fits his look. It fits the way he moves in the ring. It fits his power destructive style. I like these two. I like these two quite a bit. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing more of them in NWA. And fuck up. So I don't know, Kevin.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on Yuma and
Rush.
Homeboy Rush. Yeah, they're just the weirdest pairing still. But I agree. I thought they actually served a purpose in this match. I would have liked to see it go a little faster, a little shorter. But as a whole, Bradley and Wrecking Ball are impressive. And honestly, they're entertaining too. And that's the part that you probably wouldn't expect off the bat. And it's not like they're out there trying to be entertaining, but they're good. And like I said, Wrecking Ball running across the ring to tag Bradley was not supposed to be entertaining, but it was. and honestly, look, guys, that's why I love wrestling. And honestly, y'all know I'm a huge fan of heavyweight wrestling for sure. When you're a good heavyweight, you can just circle the ring and yell at each other, and it's entertaining. Go watch Nord the Barbarian and I think it's maybe Bruiser Brody. They just walk around for 10 minutes yelling at each other, and by the time I get about 5 minutes in, I'm standing up yelling too. But Anyway, by the way, guys, my friend, we all know Bull on this show. He had a wrestling match over the weekend, and he sent me the video, and I'll send it to you guys. And in about 5 minutes and 55 seconds, he slaps this kid because he won't sell for him so hard, and it's so funny. I've showed it to all my people at work, and what I do is I I pull up the video and I just let them hear the audio of the slap first. And everybody pops just for hearing it. And they're like, oh my God, I've got to see that. And then they see it and they're like, I can't believe it was even better when I got to see it. So anyways, I love big heavyweight wrestling. I love when big guys go out there and just beat up on each other. And these guys were entertaining. I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed that I got to see them for 3 segments in a row in 2 matches. And so kudos, because we did get some really good, as we say on the show, content in these matches. I really thought this was the strongest part of any segment NWA's had in a while. My beautiful wife will be entering the screen here any second now.
Hello, beautiful wife.
I'm out of my league here, guys. Just
we all
telling you.
knew that already. But, you know, I got to admit, Kevin, hearing the story about Bull, who we all love, slapping that guy is probably the best thing I've heard today. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see the video because
it's so good.
Knowing Bull, it's got to be. You really wonder what stupid people think sometimes.
You know, I have a question though.
Yes.
I have a friend named Vinny, and I'm not sure how he's going to like this Fixer tag team. You know, he might have to get his Italian lawyers from New Jersey to see about doing something like that. Mr. Baba Ganoush and Mr. Boombats and everything like that to see if they could do something about that Fixer name. Because there's only one Fixer, and that's Vinny the Fixer, in my opinion. That said, though, Jay Bradley's pretty awesome, and I know Wrecking Ball Legursky. He's a really good kid, too. Jay Bradley kind of reminds me of a very young Stan Hansen in a way.
Oh, that's a good call.
And then Wrecking Ball Legursky kind of reminds me more of Bam Bam Bigelow without the cartwheel.
I need to see Bam Bam.
But I thought Bundy when I first saw him. I was like, oh man, we got modern day King Kong Bundy in here.
Not tall enough, but he's got the right body for it.
All right, so now I'm desperately trying to figure out how to get that video on the channel. So bear with me while I try to figure this out.
Yeah, I put it in the chat, by the way. If you're talking about the bull slap, it's at about 5 minutes and 50 seconds on the video. Guys, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding, y'all. It's so great. And again, like and maybe, you know, I'm a brute old, but I like physical wrestling. I'm of the belief that wrestling should be like football. You know, you don't take your helmet off and hit them in the face with it, but you got to hit hard, man. Like, it has to be hard hitting. There's got to be like some oomph to it, or it's just, you know, it just doesn't have the same meat to it for me. That's the content I'm looking for.
When did you say the match? What time was it?
It was about 5 minutes and 50 seconds.
5 minutes and 50 seconds. All right.
I know all three of you are football fans, but I really don't like football fans. I don't like sports that are predetermined. That's why I like legitimate sports like professional wrestling. Hey,
you are onto something, Jaden. I'm so serious because my 2 favorite teams have the most.
Holy crap!
DK side. But my 2 favorite teams get the worst reffing calls of any teams in football, man. Michigan Wolverines and the Dallas Cowboys. They have a stat for like referee calls that could have gone either way that didn't go your way. And the Dallas Cowboys have led the NFL in the last 3 years in those calls. It's hard to watch the game sometimes, man, because you're just like, here we go again. Uh-oh. Are we getting it? Oh, guys.
I'm trying.
Okay. This is going to be so good. All right. So he's going to punch him. Cool. Yeah, he's going to punch him a little bit. He's going to go down. Are we getting audio here? When he walks away and walks back and the guy hits him in the gut, it's going to be the best moment of your whole life. But I didn't hear the audio. Where's the audio? You have to hear it. Like,
the audio didn't come up?
No,
the audio didn't come up, no.
All right, I don't know how I could do it, but let me try it again.
So who is it? James Jackson. Holy cow, that was a slap. Yeah, for those people that think old school wrestling is dead, let me tell you, this is Rodney Mack and Jazz's wrestling league down in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm telling you, man, like you're not getting on that. You're not getting on the card if you don't have a little something about you.
I can't get the audio up, but man, I heard it on my end.
Oh man, we've been laughing about that all week at work because most of my coworkers, like they once they find out I'm a wrestler, they want to see all my matches. Oh wait, they want to see matches on YouTube, and so I started bringing that one around and showing them all. I'm like, hey, first you need to hear it, and then you can see it. So and Terry McDermott, that hurt me just watching it. Guys, Bull's gonna love it. We talked about him on the show.
Well, we should get Bull on the show.
To let him know. Oh Jesus! You get me and him in the same place, it's gonna be just mayhem, pandemonium.
And that would be a taste of what the old podcast used to be like for all the new viewers. So, all right, so
pandemonium.
Let's move on. We get the OGK, which I believe stands for the Original Kingdom. That would be Matt Taven and former challenger for the 10 pounds of gold, Michael Bennett, and they come into the show, kind of unannounced, and they walk into the Valor Hall and essentially challenge the Fixers. And I thought that was kind of cool because Joe Galli got on the headset and said, "Yeah, the NWA just whispered in my ear that this match is sanctioned." So it was kind of cool like that. All right, we get another match, and we're talking about, I don't know the last time that I watched Power and got 3 consecutive matches without any BS in the middle. It was just match, match, match. And I felt really excited about that. And to me, this is how this show could be every week if they wanted it to be. The match I thought was pretty good. Established the Kingdom as a legitimate tag team in the NWA. One thing that I thought was pretty awesome, and remember that this show was taped before the announcement from Ring of Honor, but one thing that Austin Idol said was, "Do the talents from Ring of Honor belong here?" And it was just an offhand comment, and it had nothing to do with the news that broke this week or last week. But I just thought, wow, that's such a great thing to have said, and it all kind of ties in so well because that tag team match was booked obviously before the news broke with Ring of Honor. So it just kind of felt like, oh, they're building to something. And obviously, to me, when I see so much introduction to tag teams, I feel like they're getting us ready for Crockett Cup 2022. And I think this match was put in place to make the Kingdom look solid when that announcement comes for a tag team tournament. Kevin, what did you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. I thought there was a little bit of I would say like some technical things that bothered me, and I certainly know that DK will agree. What's not Bennett, but what's his partner's name? Maven.
Taven.
Maven, isn't that like the first Tough Enough winner?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, wow. Anyway, so no, I thought Taven stayed in the ring way too long. We should have seen some tag wrestling first. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, I'm probably sure they're doing that because Bennett's kind of the bigger name of the two and just kind of building up the anticipation for him getting into the ring. That's fine. But honestly, it just would have been a little bit of a better match if we would have gotten a little bit of more tag team continuity from the ROH team. But honestly, that's just kind of nitpicking. Kind of like the Mims match later, I knew who was going to win, and I didn't want them to. I wanted the Fixers to win this match. It would have been great. And you could have had it happen. It would have been great if my least favorite guy in the NWA, Colby Corino, comes out and actually costs them that match. Now we have a reason to have a rematch, and the Fixers now have moved themselves into a position where they really belong as a serious tag team in the NWA. And I'll tell you who the Fixers kind of size-wise match up to. They're somewhere between, like they're somewhere in the middle of the Nasty Boys, Earthquake and what's his face, the Natural Disasters, and Demolition. They're somewhere in the middle of that. They've got all of those elements in their tag team. And again, I'd never even really heard of them. I really like this team. And I really want to see them and a few of the teams in the NWA, especially La Rebellion. Definitely want to see them against them. Definitely want to see them against the End. There's some teams that I think they would match up great with, and I really wanted to see them win this match, especially by heel means. It would have been a really good. It would have been a really good outcome for me.
I have a feeling that, I know that Taven and is the trainer of Ligursky. I have a feeling Ligursky came with Taven as part of the deal because this team was thrown together. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Taven often tags with Ligursky in like the New England area. So I think it's just because they came together and they made this tag team, they threw it together. I don't think they were expecting it to be as good as what it is. And I think they just kind of hit on gold. And now hopefully somebody's smart enough in the NWA to be able to mine that gold. Because again, I've always been a Jay Bradley fan. He's had a cup of tea with the WWE. He's had a grande cup of coffee with Impact, and he's been to Japan. He's feuded and teamed, but with both against Rob Terry and team with Rob Terry. He's got the potential to be something. I think he was even spent some time with Al Snow. And Ligursky, I've seen him. He's been impressive. I know was on the dog radar. So I think that's something. I think again, it was a team that they weren't expecting to be as good as they were, and they just clicked.
I think I want to jump in. Sorry, guys. Willie Bowen brings up an actual point that is actually realistically believable. To bring in the Briscoes for NWA, I actually think that's the kind of talent that NWA could actually get, at least for a time, because I think they would be a good addition to the tag team division, especially if we're talking about Crockett Cup type stuff. If we're talking about for like a period of time to get a certain, what will we say, a certain show on the, to work with a certain show for the benefit of the company kind of thing.
DK, you're up.
Oh, me? Oh. No, I'm actually a Matt Taven fan. I followed him for quite a while. I actually learned about him more in Mexico than I did in ROH, because I wasn't following ROH that closely at the time. But strange NWA tie-in. Taven once held the NWA Historic World Welterweight Championship. So
I have one more tie-in.
Yeah.
He was also briefly an NWA On Fire Tag Team Champion.
Cool. I did not know that. Or more accurately, did not remember that. But anyway, I kind of was a fan. He won the ROH World Title, beating Jay Lethal and Marty Scurll, I think, in a ladder match. Was it a ladder match?
Yeah, that was the big Madison Square Garden show.
Big Madison Square Garden show. And boy, did they screw up his booking big time when he was champion. He would eventually lose it to Rush, who was a nemesis of his down in Mexico. And what could have been a beautiful storyline in and out, they would bring up that the two of them wrestled in Mexico, but they just never hit on it. The match where he lost the title to Rush wasn't that good. They did not book him well, and it really irritated me. So, I was happy to see him and Bennett. I would hope that now with the ROH releases that, at least for a while, that we can see some of these people, including the Briscoes and, well, any of the tag teams. So, we could put on a good Crockett Cup and, not have the 8th team be some wild card Battle Royal winners. And no offense to the former wild card tag team champions, but still, look, we got a lot of options. We said AEW can't sign everyone. So there's plenty of talent. There's plenty of talent that's been released by WWE, and there's plenty of talent that was part of ROH that the NWA and others should be able to circulate in and out and, build some stuff. And so I'm hoping they take advantage of it. As Jaden said, I did not know this was a thrown together team because they actually, in some ways, their teamwork looked better than the original Kingdoms, who did not, do as much tagging in and out. And I think probably the reason that Taven was in there for a long time was because he is training, Wrecking Ball and stuff like that.
Well,
so
the update is Wrecking Ball is now at Bully Ray School in Connecticut. So he's not actually training with Taven anymore. But I could still see what Jaden was saying. But I also feel like this tag team wasn't just a one-off. I think they built them up the way they did because they plan on using them forward in the future, kind of in the same role as the Beer Bruisers and before them the Dawsons. It's kind of similar to that, but guys who are able to actually move around the ring and wrestle well.
I was going to say, well, they got more talent than either team you mentioned, and hopefully they'll use them better than either team that you mentioned.
Yeah,
I have a question. How long it's going to be till they start not getting along and they have to fight against each other? Both teams.
6
Oh,
months.
come on, we already know. We already know that's just right around the corner.
3
I hate to admit that that's the truth, but it's the truth.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, the NWA really didn't book this show. Somebody else did. Am I wrong?
Well, it was Tried and True, but they did it with the NWA. And so, Tried and True is essentially Crimson. So I'm pretty sure, it was an NWA vision. It wasn't like Billy wasn't involved. But, yeah, I felt like the show ran very smooth, a lot better presented than most episodes of Power, and certainly a lot better than what we've been getting from the Power at the Chase. It's not working there. It just isn't working. But
Tried and True, though, has been around longer than the current ownership of the NWA. Maybe again,
true.
Crimson probably just booked this event and decided to throw the NWA name on it. That's what I would think, because this seems like, from what I remember of Tried and True, this kind of seems more of their MO. It's probably why there's no crappy promos of people putting themselves over.
Well, I mean, from the beginning, this has always been billed as an NWA show.
Yeah.
With Tried and True. So, I mean, from the beginning, I think. But my guess is that since it was a Tried and True show, the Crimson probably had a lot more say. And it may have been more his people putting some of the stuff together. Or he may have been doing a lot of the putting stuff together. Although, or better yet, maybe they listen to some of the talent they do have. Like Kevin said, Jazz may have been part of the, booking team for the opening part, as this is very close to what they do. But anyway,
so
we should probably move on now that we've killed this horse too.
Thank you. Up next is a really good Sinister Minister promo, putting over that if Sal loses, he cannot challenge for the national championship for 18 months. Again, this is kind of what you'd expect from the Sinister Minister. Judas is there, but he's never meant to talk. He's just supposed to be the muscle. This is all about adding some more characters to the NWA. And I thought it was a pretty decent promo. DK, what did you think of this one?
I'm mixed on it because I did think it was probably one of the better Sinister Minister promos since he's been back in the thing. I just don't care about Judas. So, mixed bag on that.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, when they say it's 18 months until Sal can challenge again, stuff like that, do any of us really believe that Sal was going to challenge again anyway in 18 months? So, I guess it gave him a chance to use 666.
Yeah, that was that. Yeah.
Kevin, what were your thoughts on the match?
On the match or the promo?
Oh, excuse me, the promo. Sorry.
I text you guys on there. I thought the promo was lights out. The reason I say this is, and this is me gauging it by modern day standards, because if you can get a promo where they don't say tonight, you see, the same. If they don't say you see or tonight, or there's another one I was gonna throw out there that you just hear the same stuff.
Let me tell you.
Let me tell you,
Brother.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, man, he knew what he was gonna say. I mean, this is kind of what I was saying about the Jack Stain promo. He knew what he was gonna say. You knew it was something that was thought out in advance, but it didn't feel like scripted. It felt like this is something a guy of this kind of character would say, and I really love how he puts over Jedias in the promos. And this has nothing to do with whether I like Jedias or not. I'm talking just about the bare bones of the promo itself was really good. It wasn't long. It wasn't drawn out. Very to the point. It made sense with his character. The stuff he talked about latched like built in with the character. It just was a good promo, man. It really was. I mean, I'm not even a fan of Sinister Minister, but it was today. You got to we're really starving for good promos today. Right now, I still think LA Knight's the only guy out there cutting really, really good promos besides maybe Pope. And Pope has become hit or miss lately because I can't tell you the last time he had a really great promo. So I'll take it. I enjoyed it. I thought Judice did great standing back there looking like I got crickets on that. Kind of the point. That's
I've
okay.
once seen him under the name Daryl Van Horn cut a promo about a mummy and make me care about him. When he was Father James Mitchell, was that his name in WCW?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He made me care about Mortis, who I've always liked. He made me care about Wrath. He made me care about Glacier.
I did do that for me.
Yeah, he even made me care about Glacier. When the blood ran cold, he was the one that made me at least, I wanted to see Wrath and Mortis beat up Glacier, but it's still I cared to want to see it. He did the same thing for Mikey Whipwreck and Tajiri in ECW. He did the same thing for what was the Wall's name, AWOL's name in there. He was Malice. He let me like Malice and Kazarni. What was his name in TNA, NWA TNA? And Wolfie D. I can't remember their names, but I remembered I liked them. The whole faction. They were something under the Sinister Minister. He can talk, and he can make you want to care. I don't think it's a character for him. It's a gimmick. It's him. It's just him turned up to 11. And I don't care what he does. When he says something to talk about that's important, or if he has the perception of something that's important, he can make it seem important.
And that would also lead us to our next match, which Dave Scooby kind of punctuates. He would rather listen to Sinister Minister speak than watch Judeus wrestle. And I think that might come true here. We have the National Championship Contender match. I know that's not what they called it, but that's essentially what it was. If Sal, our pal Sal, wins, he has an opportunity to challenge for the National Championship. If he loses, he can't challenge for 18 months. And as Kevin and I were speaking offline, it's no big surprise here. This match is exactly what it needed to be. With Sal Rinauro was used to his absolute fullest potential. He made Judeus look pretty good. Judeus did the right kind of wrestling. He didn't go out there and try to reinvent the wheel. He's a big man, did big man things. It's that simple. This is an easy solution. This is an easy equation. It's much like putting Captain Yuma in there with Jay Bradley and the Wrecking Ball. It's making a guy look good in a match, and I felt like that was accomplished here. Kevin, you back me up on this one?
Yeah, this was by far Judice's best showing on one end. On two, he looked like significantly better. And you guys, I get into conditioning and the way the athletes present themselves. And I just felt like he looked a lot more conditioned in this. He didn't look kind of soft as he's looked. He just looked a whole lot more physical. His body was just a lot more. He looked better altogether. I felt like his look in this match it seemed like he stepped it up just a little bit, which is great to see. But I also think that better production helped him out too. I felt like he's a guy that television helps out a lot. Like he looks good on a good produced program. So and this is one of those weird things about TV and stuff. It just sometimes it's better. TV is a lot kinder to some people than others. But I also thought, something that we've said a couple times now about like with Yuma and that we said the match did what it's supposed to do. Now, how many times, guys, that we have been watching the NWA and covering this show that they've had something that they could have done something so simple when they just had to do what they were supposed to do, and they went out there and screwed it up. For real. Like they've done it so many times. So to me, this was actually a huge step that they actually did the right thing in the right places. The booking wasn't over the top creative, but actually it kind of was. It was right. Like the flow and everything was right. So I thought this was actually a good segment. The whole thing, the promo and the match, I thought was pretty good overall. And I think Sal in this role looks better than he does in these other roles that they've had him in. He actually made me care. As opposed to in some of these other roles, you're just kind of like, man, like the whole May thing and all that. I just didn't care. This time I actually cared.
DK?
It sucked. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. Did Judeus look better? Sure. Put a hat on a chicken. It looks better. Sal Rinauro needs to shave his head now. His bald spot's getting too big. I'm over Sal. I don't ever want to see him again, or at least not for 18 months. So, can we change that to just a loser league town for 18 months instead of just?
By the way, he's not gone for 18 months. He just can't challenge for the national title.
I'm saying, can we change it?
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, I know what it was. I know what I want it to be. I want him to go away.
It's wishful thinking.
I know it is. I want Tyrus to go away too. I think that's wishful thinking. And look, I didn't enjoy the match, and I didn't think it was good, and it didn't make me care. So I might be the one that's the odd person out in this, but nah, didn't do it for me.
You're not alone. Terry agrees with you.
No, I'm not going to look at you and tell you it was. I'm not going to look at you, be able to look you in the face and tell you it was a great match or even good for that matter. But I'm kind of with Jay that they finally did what they were supposed to do. For God's sakes, just sorry.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah, I mean, for booking, it made sense, except for the fact that they use these two guys.
So let's move on. I don't want to beat a dead horse. Jayden, you don't have anything you want to add, do you?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Next up, we have Team Hex, your NWA Women Tag Team Champions, defended against, it was supposed to be Kylie Ray and Tootie Lynn Ramsey. However, as reported on the internet, on that interweb, Kylie Ray has taken some time for herself. She's doing a mental health check on herself, which I think is great. It's awesome. But that precluded her from participating in this match. So the NWA did the next best thing and got Thunder Kitty. Got Thunder Kitty to team with Tootie Lynn Ramsey. And again, when we talk so much about makeshift tag teams and what's the point of putting together a team that is not going to be there in 6 months or 6 weeks or anything else, this one didn't work for me. Team Hex just had a defense on Empower TV. They just had a defense in Ring of Honor. I felt like if this match wasn't going to happen, then maybe they should have just given us maybe Marty Bell versus 2D Lynn, or maybe giving us a 6-man or 6-woman tag team match and thrown Camille in there somehow. I don't know. This just didn't work for me. I wasn't into it. DK, what were your thoughts?
This is the NWA booking I've come to expect, and that's not a good thing. You have Tootie Lynn. And I don't know if she's a good wrestler or not a good wrestler because I've only seen her in NWA booking. And, like Kevin once said, when he watched Slice Boogie outside the NWA, it's like, hey, he's not that bad. But you watch him inside the NWA and you go, what? Why is this bum here? So they have a person they built up big before their Empower pay-per-view, local girl, and she hasn't won a match in the NWA. So they take her and they throw her together in a random tag team to challenge for the title. And then her partner, needs to take time off to take care of herself, which I'm all for. And, how many women are out there that the NWA use that are, at least semi-decent enough that you don't need Thunder Kitty, who's been wrestling for 100 years. And I don't know how old she is in real life, but because she's only been wrestling I don't even know exactly how long, maybe just over 10, 8, I don't know.
Longer than that, actually.
I thought I saw I don't remember. It's not that long. I mean, it's not like, she's from the 90s or anything like that. And, she just made me want to turn the show off.
So Thunder Kitty is a product of the Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy, and
well, I wouldn't. If I were them, I would never acknowledge that fact. She is not good. I do not enjoy her. I did not enjoy the booking of this particular match. A lot of the goodwill they built up in the first 30 minutes is going flying out the window with the last 2 matches. This one in the South. And it's just, and of course they have a face teaming with a heel to take on a tweener team that ought to rename themselves the Big Booty Girls, I guess. And inside joke, people. Inside joke. And look, it shouldn't have been a title match. It shouldn't have been a match. It amazes me that the best match, the most credible match that the NWA World Women's Tag Team Champions have had has been against a team from ROH in ROH.
That surprises you?
Well, no, because Billy Corgan hates tag teams. So why the hell did he create a women's tag team title?
Publicity. Kevin, what did you think about the match?
I agree with you on that, Jay. I think it was all just to be woke with the movement. Honestly, I'm not joking. I really think that he has zero interest in women's tag team wrestling. I just think it's the cool thing to do so that people on Twitter, think he's woke. But anyway, honestly, Jay, this show's gone on pretty long. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because it really wasn't that good. I'm not a fan of Thunder Kitty. You see your camera's dying. I mean, that's a sign. I'm not a fan of Thunder Kitty. I'm not a fan of Tootie Lynn. There was more gluteus maximus in this match. I'll say the only thing I'm going to say is here's the thing. as a wrestling fan who's married, right? And I'm watching this show for like coverage, you know. She can't walk in when it's all the dudes in the tag match, you know, and there's just none of that. No, she walks in when Allison Kay's 90% of her butt is on my TV. That's when she walks in. I'm like, what? You know, not a big fan of it, to be honest, because I feel like, and maybe I'll make my statement now. I feel like we're in an era, especially in the wrestling world, especially during kind of the Me Too and all that sort of thing, which I totally support. It doesn't help that situation. You know, I come from a wrestling school where one of the greatest female wrestlers of all time, Jazz, and she coined the phrase in ECW that her TNA stands for talent and ability, and was someone that never needed to do anything of that nature to garner a following. And this was right during the same time that Sable was doing the Sable thing. And I think you couldn't contrast two wrestlers any more so than those two, Jazz and Sable. And for the wrestlers like those two, Allison Kay and Marty Bell, they're good. They're good. Like, they don't need that. Like, at all, they don't need that. They're good. Like, they're good wrestlers. Their match at Empower was the best match of the weekend. And so it's just kind of one of those things where I'm like, you don't, why? You know, why do that? You don't have to. But that's just my opinion on it. And that's just probably because of where I come from in my wrestling school.
I want to point out that Mr. Doty says, I love Thunder Kitty, so I hate you all. And, you know, I'll have to wear that one, Doty. You're right. That brings us to the main event. I don't know if DKM is going to be able to get back on or not. But that brings us to the main event of Scion versus Mims. Now, there's no title on the line. There's no stipulation. This is just a wrestling match. And this is the kind of stuff that I was talking about when I was telling my partners here that I really enjoyed this show, and I really felt like this was a fun wrestling show. It's a match like this one with Scion and Mims, where it got to be a lot of fun. And again, there was no convoluted stipulations. There was nothing silly about it. There was like Mims's, or excuse me, Scion's TV title shot wasn't on the line. This was just a straight up wrestling match, and that's how they closed out the show. It really went back and forth. It was a lot of fun. I think we got DKM back, and we'll go to you first, DK. What did you think of this one, Scion and Mims? Guess DK's not ready.
Well,
Kev, what did you think of that match?
I'm with the guys in the chat that Billy's hacking our show. Am I next? Am I going to get a Goldberg thing? You're next from Billy, man. Come on. Like, I just thought that was funny. The chat guys are great. You guys are amazing. Thank you all, guys. Thank you guys for watching and putting up with our crap, because we really appreciate it. It makes it fun. Otherwise, it's just us talking to ourselves. So, anyhow, DK's having some trouble on his audio. But, I'm not a big fan of Scion. I felt like this might have been his best match, though, since he's been at NWA. But yeah. I'm still not going to say – I'm still not there with him yet. I feel like he needs a little comedy to his character. I know that sounds really counterintuitive, but – he just needs something to make him a little like, okay, case in point, like, what if he took himself as seriously as he already does, but there's this underlying humor to it, you know, and like we're all laughing, and it's like his character doesn't know we're laughing, but he knows that. You get you know what I'm saying? Like almost like Batista in Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's like he's being really funny, like on, you know. But his character doesn't quite know he's being funny. And I think that could totally transform this character, because he could go with the same direction that he's going, and it actually would really make it fun to watch. And he's not bad in the ring, but he needs something. Okay. For some reason, he doesn't deserve the push he's getting at all. There's so many other better guys in that locker room that should be getting this push, including the guy he's wrestling. Mims, the production for this show, combined with his new look, the singlet, give this guy a push. Like this to me was the connection point. And I didn't realize what I didn't like about Mims until I didn't have to look at him. And that was the moves, the man boobs. Now that the man boobs are under control, now you can really tell his physique. Like, he's got a good physique. It just, again, I go back to bodybuilding. You know, if you have a weak back, don't turn around. You know, but if you got an amazing, like, if you got an amazing front, but you got a weak back, like, don't turn around. Or if you do turn around, stay turned around for as short a time as you can. You know, it's just one of those things. You know, if you're big, don't look small. If you're small, don't look big. And I think just with him, I thought this was a huge move. And kind of like to Jaden's point, this wasn't high spots gear. Like, this wasn't a generic singlet. It looked good. The colors look good. The fit is right. You know, now I can realize, like, he is a good looking guy. You know, he's got a friendly looking face. I mean, he's got cool hair. His freaking arms are this. He's got 2 thighs attached to his shoulders. You know, it really made a difference. And it really, I thought, made it where I could focus on his in-ring stuff. And I felt like this was, to me, for me as a fan, this was kind of like Mims' breakthrough match for me to kind of say, hey, that TV title, you know, national title, I think he may not be the guy to put the belt on just yet, but he's a guy that I think could deserve a run with one of these guys, just for a short program, because I'd like to see what he looks like in the ring with them.
DK, can you hear us now?
I can. I had to restart my phone, but hey. In isolation, I thought the match was good. Certainly the best I'd seen Masked Dude look. He's got an interesting build. I mean, his arms are jacked. His chest is pretty jacked. His stomach is slim, but no six-pack. He almost looks soft in it. And I've never seen anything like that before. I don't know what you do to get that one. Kevin could probably tell us. But I don't know. He needs to tan. Not that I support skin cancer or anything, but he looks just kind of fishy. I mean, and dull. I don't, it's hard to get into him. He needs the humor that, to hit what Kevin said, he needs the humor like Lance Storm had in WCW. You know, if I may be serious for a minute.
I think that's what he's efforting. I just don't think it's connecting.
You think he's actually trying?
Yeah. And
that's sad. And just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what. I know who's under the mask, but I don't know a lot about the person under the mask. And it's just one of those. And then this is where NWA, his persona has gone heel. But I'm supposed to care that he's challenging the heel tyrants.
Yeah.
And that he's out there jacking with Austin Idol, who, honestly, as much as I dislike Austin Idol, he's found his niche on the commentary table if they get rid of Velvet, because I'm sick of hearing those two bicker. Somebody else in the chat brought that up earlier. So, you know, if we could get Joe Galley to, you know, kind of be the straight guy and Austin Idol be the heel, I think they would have a decent team. And then, you know, get him out of managing and put Velvet on an all-women show or something. I don't care. I don't hate Velvet. I hate the two of them bickering like they do.
Right. And
so, but yeah, I mean, to me, the breakout was Mims. It was kind of like with the tag team thing earlier. You know, Kevin was talking about. We knew who was going to win, but, you know, kind of in your heart, you wanted the other one too. And, you know, Kevin got to see, you know, booty, but he didn't get to see man boobs this time. So I guess things are better there. And Mims kind of has the potential to be that homegrown talent. And They need to invest in him in the right way with proper booking.
Yeah.
That's the part I'm worried about.
And
So that wraps up my thoughts on the show altogether. Better booking, please. And more of the first 30 minutes. And with that, Jay, we probably need to close this out because I think we're all about to die.
yeah, we're getting up against it, so we're gonna say goodbye. But real quick, I want everyone to get their cheap plugs in. DK, how can they follow you on social media?
Twitter at DKMFWTX.
Jaden, I know you hate social media and are a social media pariah, but what's going on in your world? What's coming up next for you?
Well, we just had the dog wrestling event that happened. What was it, this past weekend, wasn't it? Yeah. Wow, it already feels like a year ago. But there was a really good dog wrestling event. If you want to check it out, I'm sure Jay will link the Twitter page and the Instagram page, and especially the YouTube page on this chat, so you can check it out. I can tell you for a fact there's going to be a couple matches in the next couple months from that event. They're going to be posted, so check it out if you want to see what's all the different action. And check out alliance-wrestling.com because that's the only wrestling site I know by heart.
Yes. Thanks for the plug. Kev, my man, how can folks follow you on the socials?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or the Instagram, though there's not a whole lot of action on there, at Kevin Lee Frazier. As far as for the relation to the wrestling, go ahead and click on that link. Go watch me versus Daniel Bryan. And then you can follow it on the rabbit hole of Kevin Douglas wrestling matches. There's some good ones out there. If you want to see me slap somebody, you can Google Kevin Douglas versus Chase Owens, NWA Mountain State. Go into about 10 minutes into that match. My wife actually watches it on a regular occasion and thinks it's the funniest thing ever. Another good match to watch me slap somebody is Sebastian Cruz and NWA on Fire. So you can Google Kevin Douglas versus Sebastian Cruz. It's, again, about 6 minutes in, just like a Bulls match. So if you want to get some good slap wrestling going on, go ahead and check that out. You can see my YouTube page at Kevin Douglas 247 on YouTube, or you can just Google Kevin Douglas Wrestling and, enjoy the best pound-for-pound wrestler in the world or the modern-day hero, whichever is your preference.
Well, I do appreciate y'all sticking around for the end. If you enjoy this podcast, please give us a thumbs up. Show us that you like it by, hitting that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We are at 775 total subscribers now on the channel. Once we hit 1,000, we'll be giving away NWA Gold's Crown NWA Championship. So if we get there, one of you guys watching right now that is subscribed to the show will get an opportunity to win that title. So I think that's pretty cool. We'll also be giving away t-shirts, some buttons, and a few other things. So make sure that you are subscribed to this channel. It's super important. Plus, if you like this podcast and you want to support it financially, you can buy a hat like this or t-shirts with a similar logo on our merch store. Just visit the alliance-wrestling.com and hit that merch link, and you could get something there. And then if you want to follow us on the website and this show online on social media, it's at the Alliance blog, and we're on all social media: Tumblr, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and of course you're watching us either on Twitch or YouTube. And then lastly, if you prefer to listen to these podcasts as opposed to watching them, you can do that too. When you go to Spotify, just ask for the Alliance Guys podcast, and that should come up. But that'll do it. So again, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking it out. We're going to bid you adieu this evening, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, right here at youtube.com/The Alliance Blog.